Moscow. September 26, 1983. 12:40 a.m. A man sits alone in a dark room. Not a president. Not a general. Not anyone the world has ever heard of. His name is Stanislav Petrov. He is 44 years old. He has a cigarette in one hand and a telephone in the other. And in exactly 9 minutes, he will either save the world or end it. To understand what Petrov is feeling right now, you need to feel the world as it existed in September 1983. This is not peacetime with tension. This is the closest the world has come to nuclear war since the Cuban Missile Crisis. And almost nobody knows it. 3 weeks earlier, September 1st, the Soviet military shot down Korean Airlines, Flight 007. A commercial passenger aircraft. 269 people died, including a United States congressman. The world was furious. President Ronald Reagan called the Soviet Union an evil empire on live television. Soviet leadership called Reagan a madman preparing for war. Both sides genuinely believed the other was about to strike first, and here is the detail that makes everything worse. The Soviet military had a secret intelligence operation running, codenamed Operation RYAN. Its entire purpose was one thing: detect signs of an American nuclear first strike before it happened. Soviet generals were so convinced an attack was coming, they had quietly ordered their early warning satellite systems to maximum sensitivity, which meant the system was now primed, hair trigger, waiting to see threats that may not even exist. Stanislav Petrov knew this, because Petrov was not just any officer sitting at a desk. He was one of the men who helped design this early warning system. He understood it. He trusted it. But he also knew its weaknesses better than almost anyone in that bunker. 12:40 a.m. The alarm goes off. Not a small alarm. Not a notification. The loudest alarm in the entire Serpukhov 15 bunker, a facility buried deep in a forest outside Moscow, designed for exactly this moment. Red lights flood the room. The screen in front of Petrov shows one word, flashing in large Cyrillic letters: launch.
The system is reporting that one American intercontinental ballistic missile
launched from United States territory, heading directly toward the Soviet Union. Petrov has a telephone in his hand. Protocol is simple. If the system reports a launch, report it immediately up the chain of command. Soviet military leadership will be notified within minutes. The response will be automatic. He has 9 minutes before the missile would theoretically reach Soviet territory. He looks at the screen. He looks at the telephone. He does not pick it up. Not yet, because something feels wrong. His training tells him if America is launching a first strike, they would not send one missile. One missile makes no sense. One missile cannot win a nuclear war. One missile is not a first strike. It is a mistake. But before he can process this thought, the alarm changes. One missile becomes 2, 2 becomes 3, 3 becomes 4, 4 becomes 5. 5 American nuclear missiles. The system is now screaming, launched from United States territory, all heading toward the Soviet Union. Reliability of detection rated highest. The entire room is watching Petrov now. Duty officers, staff members. Everyone has stopped what they were doing. They are all waiting for him to pick up the phone. Petrov has maybe 5 minutes left. He looks at the screen. 5 missiles. Highest reliability rating. Everything in his training, everything in the protocol, says pick up the phone. But his mind is running faster than the protocol. 5 missiles still makes no sense. If America is launching a first strike, a real one, they send hundreds, thousands. You do not start a nuclear war with 5 missiles. 5 missiles does not destroy the Soviet Union. 5 missiles is not a strategy. 5 missiles is an accident or a malfunction. He also knows something else. The ground radar stations, which are the secondary verification system, have not yet confirmed anything. The satellite is the only source reporting a launch, and ground radar takes 15 minutes to verify. He does not have 15 minutes. He has 3. The room is silent, except for the alarm. Everyone is still watching. Petrov picks up the telephone. He calls his commander. He says 3 words: system malfunction, false alarm. He reports it as an error, not a launch. He was right. The Soviet early warning satellite, the OKO system, had done exactly what Petrov feared. It had taken a rare alignment of sunlight reflecting off high-altitude clouds over the United States and read it as the heat signature of a ballistic missile launch. There were no missiles. There were never any missiles. There was only sunlight, and one man who decided in 3 minutes to trust his mind over the machine. Let that sit for a moment. In 1983, the United States had approximately 23,000 nuclear warheads. The Soviet Union had roughly 35,000. Scientists have calculated that a full nuclear exchange between the two powers would have triggered a nuclear winter. Ash and debris blocking sunlight for years. Global temperatures dropping. Crops failing worldwide. Estimated deaths in the first exchange to 1 billion people. Within a year from nuclear winter, another 2 billion from starvation. 3 billion people gone because of sunlight on clouds. If Petrov had followed protocol, if he had reported 5 inbound missiles, Soviet leadership would have had no choice but to respond. They would have launched. The United States would have detected the Soviet launch within minutes. American missiles would have been in the air before Soviet warheads even landed. The entire exchange from Petrov's phone call to the end of civilization would have taken less than 30 minutes. 30 minutes, that is less time than it takes to watch half a film. Less time than a lunch break. Less time than a traffic jam on a Tuesday morning. That is how close it was. Here is what most people do not know about this story. Petrov did not receive a medal. He was quietly reprimanded for failing to properly fill in his incident report log during the crisis. He was reassigned to a less sensitive position. He retired early. He went home to his small apartment outside Moscow. His name was classified. The entire incident was classified. The Soviet government had no interest in publicly admitting that its entire nuclear early warning system had nearly triggered the end of civilization because of a software error and reflected sunlight. The world did not learn Stanislav Petrov's name until 1998. 15 years later, when a retired Soviet colonel wrote a single paragraph about the incident in his memoirs. And now, think about today. Right now, as you are watching this, nuclear submarines from 8 different nations are moving silently through the world's oceans. Their crews operate under communication blackouts. They carry weapons that make the bombs dropped on Hiroshima look like firecrackers. And they operate under systems designed during the Cold War. Systems built on the assumption that human judgment, under extreme stress, with incomplete information, in the middle of the night, will always make the right call. Petrov's story is not a reassuring one. It is a warning. The world did not survive September 26, 1983, because the system worked. The world survived because one tired man, in an unbearable situation, happened to think clearly for 3 minutes. That is not a system, that is luck. In 2006, Stanislav Petrov was quietly invited to the United Nations headquarters in New York. He stood in a building dedicated to world peace and received a small award from an organization called the Association of World Citizens. He was uncomfortable the entire time. Reporters asked him how he felt about being called the man who saved the world. He said he did not feel like a hero. He said he simply did his job. He said any other officer might have done the same. But here is what Petrov also said quietly, almost to himself, in an interview years later. He said he was lucky, not skilled, not brilliant, not heroic. Lucky. He said that if the alarm had gone off on a different night, with a different officer, a more by-the-book officer, an officer who trusted the system more than his instinct, the outcome might have been completely different. Stanislav Petrov died on May 19, 2017. He was 77 years old. He died in a small apartment outside Moscow. His death was not reported for several months, because nobody thought to check. The man who saved the world died quietly and alone. And somewhere right now, in a bunker you will never see, in a country that may not tell you, another officer is sitting in front of another screen. Watching. Waiting. 9 minutes away from a decision that could change everything. The question is not whether it could happen again. The question is, when it does, will we be as lucky as we were on September 26, 1983? Think about that tonight. And if this story made you feel something, what I am about to tell you in the next video will make you question everything. The same month this happened, 30 days later.